My name is Lou Noble. I work as a medic on film sets, and in my spare time, I run a site called the Photographic Journal and take pictures. I got interested in photography probably in college just as a hobby. Uh, I'd read a Stephen King story about a haunted Polaroid, so I started taking Polaroids back then. And then probably in 2006, I got on Flickr, and that's when I really became passionate about photography. I started meeting a bunch of other people who were into Polaroids. You could talk to them, you could meet up with them. I'd never really had that experience. I always kind of created art in a vacuum before that. So meeting other people around 2005, 2006 is when I really started getting passionate about photography. Every time looking back, every time I thought I was really good, I wasn't. But you start getting a bit of attention, and you think you're better than you are. So I started getting attention on Flickr probably around 2007, 2008. Just there weren't a lot of people taking Polaroid portraits. I also would write a bit about the photo. People tended to like that. So probably around 2007, 2008, I started to realize that people were into the photos I made, the writing I did. And then in those early internet days, I sold a book that I made from Blurb. I think it was the first year of Kickstarter, 2011. I did a Kickstarter project where I went around the country taking pictures of people. So the late aughts, early teens. Yeah. I cannot imagine a life without artistic expression. I wouldn't be able to do that, even if it's just there are many days, many weeks where I don't actually take much in the way of photos, but I've still got the Photographic Journal, so I'm still engaging with photographers. I'm still looking at art all the time. I pretty much engage with photography daily. Instagram, Flickr, Tumblr, corresponding with the people we work with on TPJ. A life that didn't include that wouldn't be any fun, and I refuse to live a life that's not any fun. My life is pretty much as hedonistic as I can get while still making money and not, selling my body for porn or something like that. I can't say I ever had any particular big break. There have been moments that I look back and think of as inflection points. 2005, a photographer on Flickr suggested I use a particular camera, and that camera I've carried around with me ever since. It changed the way I took pictures. It changed what I took pictures of. There was a point in 2007 where a guy came into the ambulance company I was working at and asked me if I wanted to work on a film set. And that was the beginning of my set medic career. There was no moment at which I became suddenly more successful or like an aha moment, as much as periods where I was able to take an opportunity, and that opportunity led to another opportunity, and that opportunity led to this life that I find very enjoyable. The internet is responsible for me being a photographer, for me being passionate about photography, for me knowing photographers, for me working with photographers. Everything that I do that's art related has been catalyzed by the internet. The internet, when I think I was working as a nanny, and my friends had a website, a blog where they would write stuff. So I started writing stuff with them as the nanny guy, the Manny. And so we went on Flickr to promote the site. And that's when I got on Flickr. And then Flickr, I met all these other photographers, so now I wanted to do photography all the time. And then I met a guy who liked my photography and wanted to interview me. So he interviewed me for his website, and then we kept talking. And then I started interviews. Next thing you know, I'm helping him run his photo site, the Photographic Journal. Getting to travel because of photography is because of the internet. Meeting most of the people I took pictures of was because of the internet. Meeting models on the various sites, meeting other photographers, meeting friends, all the writing I did. So, Kickstarter, the trip, judging on Flickr, books. Yeah, without the internet, I would still just be taking pictures of friends at parties, which was, fun, but different. If I could go back in time, I would try to shortcut everything so I could get where I was faster, I suppose. That's what I have always thought about. Like, you go back in time, like how old, you want to maybe like 14-year-old me, pick up a camera. Don't wait a few years. And hey, also invest in Apple. But you could just, I definitely feel like I took the long way around to get to all my interests, to get to the kind of worldview that I'm happiest in. So I'd probably find myself as a teenager somewhere and just tell him to get started on a lot of stuff, save some time. To me, creativity is very broad, and I think it has become more broad over the past 5-10 years. I think everyone can be creative. I think creativity is the ability to think about art, to think artistically. I think I also believe that these terms, creativity, creative, have been also co-opted by more professional modes, to the point where everyone thinks creativity is something that they should monetize in some way, that they should make work for them. I still believe that there's a place where art is satisfying just because you made it. Like, you don't have to do anything with it. People used to ask me all the time, "Oh, you're good at photography. Why don't you become a professional photographer?" That's because I would explain to them that just because you are good at something or enjoy something doesn't mean you have to make it your job. That's a different relationship to art. So creativity is being able to access the artistic part of yourself. Over time, what makes me come alive has changed, as what I need emotionally has changed. Photography for so long was what made me come alive, was the only thing that I was both passionate about and, good at, to the point where I really got some satisfaction out of it. As I get older, I become good at other things. Surfing makes me come alive, but I wouldn't want to make a job out of it. I think that what makes you come alive is something you should do as often as you can, but should not do as your job. And I know this is outsider thinking, but I think what makes you come alive is something you should do as often as you can, but don't make your job, because making it your job will, how do I phrase this? Making your job will cease to make it the thing that makes you feel alive. That putting it in like a cage like that will temper its utility to you. I've always been that's not true. I am of the opinion that you should find a hobby that is very enriching, and you should find a job that you enjoy, and the two don't have to meet. if you're not happy with the job, you can go do this thing you like. If you don't like this thing, you can go to work. I think making your passion your profession is a trick that capitalism has pulled. I can keep going all day. I love the sound of my own voice. It's deeper in my head, so it sounds perfect.